Hello, welcome to a quick little video about just an introduction to some calculus. For this problem, we are asked to find the limit of f of x algebraically. Find the limit of f of x algebraically. And the limit is going to be limit of f of x as x approaches 6. So, with a cursory glance to our function here, we can see that at the very least we're going to end up with a 0 in the denominator when x is approaching 6. So starting out, what we need to do to figure out what the limit is kind of just plug it in. So we're going to try f of 6 right now. And that will be, let's see here, we'll end up with 5 times 6 squared minus 38 times 6 plus 48 all over 6 minus 6. So our denominator is definitely going to be 0. So I will go ahead and write that. And then we're looking to see if our fraction or our limit at 6 is going to be 0 over 0, because that will mean we have to do some other steps to find our limit. If it's not 0 on the numerator, then we'll have a much easier time with this. So let's see where we end up. So we're going to have 5 times 6 squared is 36, minus 38 times 6 plus 48. I'm just going to pop off to the side over here. We're going to say 36 times 5, stack it on up. 0, carry the 3. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 8 is 180. So we're going to have on top 180 minus 38 times 6. 6 eighths is 48. 3 times 6 is 18 plus 4 is 22. Leaves us to 228 plus 48 all over 0. Now, doing this math up top, I'm going to go ahead and do the addition first, so adding 180 and 48. It's going to say the first column is going to have an 8, then we're going to have a 2, carry a 1, and a 2. So this actually leaves us with 228 minus 228 over 0, which is equal to 0 over 0. So what does that mean? Right now, we are not able to solve this out, right? So sorry, that's not good. There we go, f of x, or f of 6, I should say, is 0 over 0. So moving forward, what does that mean? What do we do next? That means we need to go ahead and take our initial equation and try to factor the numerator. So I'm going to pull it from up here. We've got 5x squared minus 38x plus 48. So 5x squared minus 38x plus 48. And right now we're just going to work with this numerator. And then we're going to move it back on top of the fraction later. Factoring this, this is not a pretty one. We can't cleanly pull a 5 out of every term here, so we can't get rid of the coefficient on our x squared term. We could use quadratic formula, but I'm going to opt to do some factoring by grouping. So when we factor by grouping, we take this middle term here, sometimes called the b term because we consider quadratic equations ax squared plus bx plus c. We're going to take this b term and split the coefficient b. So as an example, we have 38 here. We could very easily divide it in 2 and say 19 and 19. So we could rewrite this as 5x squared minus 19x minus 19x plus 48. As long as our middle two x terms add up to the initial x term, we are okay, we are good to go. For this particular problem, 19 is not going to do us a whole lot of good. So what we are going to do is split this into a minus 30x and a minus 8x, like so. And now we're going to do our factoring by grouping. I tend to draw parentheses around it. You can draw brackets, you can draw boxes, you can write them out with a little more space than I gave. There are a few options there. Looking at the parentheses on the left-hand side here, we have a 5x squared minus 30x. I am going to divide both terms by a 5 and pull that out, and I'm also going to divide by an x and pull that out. So 5x squared divided by 5x is going to just leave an x behind. We're still not changing the sign because we're pulling out a positive number. And then 30x divided by 5x is going to be 6. And we have our x minus 6 in the denominator. That's a good sign. I'm going to say addition here for now. We're going to see how we do. And now we're going to look to this negative 8x plus 48 parenthesis. And looking at that, we will see we're going to go ahead and pull an 8 out, I think. Or, sorry, a negative 8 out. So I'm going to put in parentheses this time because of the sign. And then negative 8x divided by negative 8 is just going to leave behind an x. Then 48 divided by negative 8 is going to be a negative 6. So we now have x minus 6 twice here. I'm going to give us a little bit more space. And now we're going to do what effectively amounts to a reverse distributive property. We're going to undistribute it. So we are going to keep our x minus 6 in parentheses, and we can multiply that by the bits remaining outside. So 5x minus 8. Now, recall our original equation. Let's see here. Recall our original equation was 5x squared minus 38x plus 48 over x minus 6. And we have now remade this part here. We have kind of reformatted it. So we're going to just rewrite our equation now. We have what we have just right here, 5x minus 8 times x minus 6 over x minus 6. And this is now f of x. What we can do from here, we can cancel out this x minus 6 because we're dividing that by itself. That comes out to be a 1. So we're left with f of x equals 5x minus 8. So now let's try f of 6 again. F of 6 will be 5 times 6 minus 8. That is equal to 30 minus 8. So we find f of 6 to be 22. And that is our algebraic limit right there. So this is our final answer. I will leave it to you to solve that in a graphical way. You can just plug the equation into a calculator and you'll be able to see pretty clearly that the line would go to 22, and then when x equals 6, the y value would be 22, and you'll see some wiggliness because there are asymptotic problems around that point. Yes. And of course, thank you, Miles, for sending me the problem. Have a good one, y'all.